true story. I got hold of some free lilies the other day, so I brought them home and I gave them to my wife, and she looked at me and said, why are you giving me these flowers? Have you done something? Are you guilty of something? And I said, I haven't done anything at all. She looked at me and she said, were they free? Because they were. And I tell you now, I didn't bring them home for her. They weren't for my wife. They were for me. You're watching this because you want to learn the internal structure of a flower. And so we need to dissect a flower. So we need a volunteer. Here's our non-volunteer test subject that we're going to dissect. Carefully open up the front here. You can make out the petals. I'll try and pull one of these guys away, doing as little damage as we can. There we go. Just like that. And there we go. You can just about see on the inside. Actually looks better on the camera, on the screen. You can make out some of the pollen just along there. This is incredibly sticky stuff. It stains your clothes in the weirdest way. Really, really doesn't come out. Now, along here we have the male part of the flower, which I'm just going to grip here with these forceps, and then I'll remove them with my little scissors. Snip, snip. We'll pop them down here. I'm using a piece of cardboard as the backing. I was going to use some paper, but then I thought you won't be able to see a white flower on a white background. So this is the stamen, this part, just along here. The stamen is made up of the anther. The anther is where the pollen comes from. And along the bottom is the filament. If I just brush that gently with the back of the scissor, you can see some of the pollen coming away. If I pull a few of these out of the way, we'll make our way towards the heart of the flower, where you'll be able to see the female part, which is the carpel, also sometimes known as the pistil. Oh, that's done it. There we go. I'll try and put them all away in one go. Here we are. We'll look at it in two sections. That's it. I'll try and arrange them together. There we go. So we've got the carpel, sometimes called the pistil, up here. The top part of it is the stigma. Now the stigma is extremely sticky. The stigma is sticky so that pollen will stick to it. If I give it a little dab on there, you can see the pollen stuck onto it, and it really doesn't. You can actually see, you might be able to see, it's actually sticky. If I zoom in a little bit, if I get the camera to focus on my finger. No? That'd be nice, wouldn't it? Ooh, so sticky. Yeah, give it some focus on my hand. There we go. Ooh. Anyway, so we've got the stigma on the top. It's all sticky so that the pollen sticks to it. The style is the structure that it stays attached to. The style just holds it up. And at the bottom is the ovary. The ovary is the part that develops into a fruit. If I move this all across a little bit, like that. Be arranged like this. So the pollen would land eventually on the stigma. A little tube forms all the way down along here, which the pollen granule falls down, all the way down until it gets to the ovary. And the ovary is where fertilization takes place. The ovum, if you think like an egg cell, an ovum rather, the ovum becomes fertilized and slowly grows into a seed, and a fruiting body is formed around the outside. What bits have we got left? Well, looking around the outside, we have the petals. These petals, look at all that pollen. These petals have evolved to attract pollinators. They're often bright colours, and if I had a UV torch, I could shine it on here, and you'd see that it would probably fluoresce in some interesting pattern. A lot of these insects, pollinators, see in the ultraviolet spectrum, and so they make out these fluorescences, and quite often they act a little bit like landing lights, like you get on a runway. And around the base, of course on this flower you don't get them, but around the base on many flowers you get little green bits, which are called sepals, which if you have a class with me when we do our flower dissection, I will show you the sepals. And when a bud forms, The sepals are the green bits around the outside of the bud. And when the flower opens, if you imagine that the sepals are around the outside, and as the flower opens, the sepals are the little green bits, the left around the outside. If you find yourself with a flower in hand and you want to do a dissection, a good way to do it is to tape the little bits of your plant down and then label them so you can look back at the notes later, like this. Wow, that's like magic! Sometimes I amaze even myself. You'll need to note the petal over at the side. The petal is, these have evolved to attract pollinators, remember. They've no interest in us thinking they're pretty. It's got nothing to do with our visual perception of them. It's all about attracting pollinators. The middle structure is the carpel or pistil along here. Make sure you've labelled the stigma. That's the sticky area up at the top. It's all gungy. The point of it being sticky is so that pollen will stick to it. That's what it's evolved for. The style holds the stigma up, and at the bottom there's the ovary. Remember, in fertilization, pollen from the anther here sticks on the stigma. The pollen moves down the pollen tube all the way down to the ovary, where the nucleus from the pollen fuses with the nucleus from an ovum in the ovary, and that develops on to form a seed, which will be in the middle of a fruiting body. So this is the female part of the flower, and on the right we've got the stamen, which is the male part of the flower. Up on the top there's the anther, which makes pollen. There's this yellow dusty material. It's genetic material. You can see it's just on the end of my finger there. And the anther is held up by the filaments, which is this thin, in some flowers it's almost hair-like, this thin hair-like structure. Think of it being filamentous, so a thin filament or like a hair.